and gentlemen, Porshea Wilkins here, and I want to talk to you all today about this horrible, painful F word. I am so sick and tired of hearing it everywhere I go. It haunts me, and I know it haunts a lot of you. And that word, ladies and gentlemen, is forgiveness. Yes, I know. You feel like I cursed you out. Sometimes it feels like the other F word. It's that painful. It hurts that much. You know, forgiveness and unforgiveness is basically when somebody has done you wrong and you're holding on to that anger, you're holding on to that resentment for whatever reason. You know, you want to show them, I'm not going to forget. Well, here's the deal about that. My husband did an amazing illustration of this when we were in Australia for our third time last year. And we were doing a presentation, and he was talking about how, you know, growing up, we are programmed to do certain things, and that's from our parents and our environment. People say things, and words are spirit, words are seed. So when it plants, it goes inside your brain, and your thoughts cultivate it, and then next thing you know, you're acting it out. And so a lot of times we're acting out and we're doing these things that aren't productive and conducive, positively conducive for us, and we're wondering why we're getting all these bad results. And we're holding on to it because this is what I was told. This is what I know. This is who I am. This is where I'm from. This is how we do what we do. This is my family. This is it. And you're holding on to this, and you're wondering why this plant is just painful to you and it's almost killing you. And it's not until, you know, a person comes into your life that is a mentor and just can see something different. Somebody that has your interests at best and can just really, they have permission to tell you the truth about yourself, okay? And they let you know, sweetheart, this plant that you're holding on to, that you refuse to let go of, that you're so prideful to have, is not a rose. It's not a tulip. Honey, it's a cactus, okay? You're killing yourself. You're bleeding everywhere, and you wonder why. Well, it's because you're holding on to this cactus, this pain, this hurt. So of course you're gonna be frustrated. That's what happens when you do that, okay? And that's exactly what happens to us when we don't forgive somebody when they've done us wrong. The pain, the anger, the resentment, the hurt that you hold in your heart hurts one person, you, not the other person. You are not getting them or showing them your strength by holding on to that pain. Now, forgiveness isn't weakness. It's actually strength, okay? And it doesn't mean that you forget. It's just simply remembering the wrong in the right way. If you've done someone wrong or someone has done you wrong, you have permission to adjust your relationship with them. You have permission to not talk to them anymore. You have, depending on, you know, what happened, you have permission to not invite them to your home anymore if they were coming over a lot, okay? And they've done something wrong and you just want to distance yourself, you have permission to do that. You have permission to not answer the phone every time they call or respond to the text message every time they call. You know, there's a lot of wrong that happens in life, and a lot of it has to do with expectation. You know, there's you know, misguided expectation, okay, whereas you assumed something was going to happen a certain way and it didn't happen that way. And then there's just unmet expectation, whereas a promise was made to you and they just didn't follow through, okay? And so it can hurt, okay? It can really hurt, but you have permission to adjust your relationship with them. But it's important for you to forgive a person for hurting you. A lot of us have experienced some very traumatic things. Those of you who read my story, you will now know that I experienced a great deal of abuse, not just verbal and sometimes physical, but sexual as well. And it's a tough thing to forgive somebody for doing that to you, especially when you're a teenager like I was. You really don't know a lot about forgiveness. All you know is that you have this hurt, you have this pain, and you don't like this person. And as I got older, I recognized that it affected my relationships. It affected how I interacted with people. If I just saw one little sign of you not being like I needed you to be in my life, I was gone. Oh, I will cut you off in a heartbeat. Now, hindsight, that wasn't always the best thing to do and the best way to handle it, but that's all I knew how to do back then, okay? So there's a couple of things I want you to keep in mind when it comes to forgiveness and unforgiveness, and you may want to take notes on these. First one is understanding that unforgiveness actually pauses your heart with bitterness. And so we just talked about that a little bit. You holding on to this hurt, you're holding on to this pain, thinking that you're going to show them, I'm never going to forget. Well, you never forgetting isn't doing anything to them. It's only hurting you, okay? The second thing is unforgiveness actually causes you to live out your bitterness. How many times, ladies and some men, but I can speak from a woman's perspective, whereas you was in a relationship and there was infidelity that took place. He cheated on you, okay? You break up, you move on, you meet a new guy, and if he just blink the wrong way, what you blinking at? Why you looking over here? Let me see your phone. You're just doing all this extra stuff, and it is unnecessary. So now this new guy, who's a good guy, can't even get close to you because you're still holding on to the pain of the past that you haven't forgive this old guy. So now you got this bitterness you carried over to this new relationship, and you can't even be happy in that one. So it causes you to live out your bitterness, and sometimes you got to have that conscious interrupt. Whereas in this example, the good guy leaves you, and then you have a time to think and look back, and you're like, man, I missed the boat on that one, okay? That could happen. The third one is you could be right, but you will cause more hurt, more pain, more wrong to be done when you don't forgive, okay? Now, here's the deal about forgiveness as well. If somebody does something wrong to you, you are justified in feeling hurt. You're justified in being frustrated. You are justified in being guarded. There's a justification there, right? Because it just happened. But here's the deal, okay? At some point, you're going to have to let that go. Because the longer you hold on to your justification, the sooner it becomes your excuse. It'll come to a point where it doesn't matter what happens. You want to hold on to that. It's 10 years, 20 years, 30 years ago, and you're still using that same reason why you won't do a certain thing. It's no longer justification at this point. It's an excuse. So be aware of that. The fourth thing is forgiveness doesn't erase the past, but it does enlarge your future. Every experience, good or bad, is to prepare us for something. There is great purpose hidden inside of your pain, and it's important for you to tap into that. We have to go through what we are going through and what we've gone through. A lot of the pain sometimes is self-inflicted based on the decisions that we've made and things that we've done, the people that we've chose to connect with that we knew for a fact wasn't good or right for us, but we did it anyway out of rebellion or spitefulness or arrogance or whatever it is. We've all been there, we've all done that. However, regardless of what the cause of the pain is, the fact that it's there is an opportunity for you to grow, for you to look to a brighter future, for you to find something to take away. Don't experience the pain for nothing. You got to get something out of it. And if you're going to get anything out of the pain that you are experiencing, get something that's going to take you to another level. Wisdom that you can carry to the next step. The next thing is your punishment and your resentment can never bring the proper revenge. Listen, it doesn't matter how long you remember what they did to you. It will never be enough for you to get back at them. Revenge isn't for you anyway. It's for God to do. The Bible says, vengeance is mine, said the Lord. So why are you pouring sugar in his tank or keying his car? If people still do that, I don't know if they do, but if you do, you need to stop. But why are you doing all these things? Calling his phone 200 times back to back, filling up the voicemail, sending a million text messages, talking crazy, and just being all wrong, thinking you're doing something to him. You're not. The only thing you're doing is providing comic relief. You're not doing anything but getting laughed at, honey. You gotta leave the revenge to God. That's just what you're gonna have to do. And the last thing, unforgiveness actually implies that there's a resistance to change. And at that point, reconciliation is just not possible. If you decide to just be stubborn about it, you know what you're doing. You know you're holding on to this pain and this hurt unnecessarily. You get that. However, what you got to understand is that, again, you're not hurting that person. The pain and the anger and the hurt that you hold in your heart is only hurting one person, and that person is you. Okay, you're the only one that's suffering from that. So it's important for you to find that balance, okay, of forgiving them but not being stupid. Okay, you got to pray about it. So I can tell you, and that's what I've had to do a lot of times. And it forces you to grow. It challenges your character. It challenges everything. It is the most difficult thing ever. That's why it feels like a curse word when somebody says it to you. And you're like, I'm tired of hearing that word. Stop telling me to forgive him or forgive her when you don't know what they did to me. You gotta let it go. You gotta start that process of letting it go. And the best way to start that process, I would say, is to reflect on what you've learned. Reflect on what you've learned about yourself. You know, I've learned that when somebody does something like this to me, I get bitter, I get angry, I get mean, I get messy, I get catty. You know, reflect on yourself. Put the mirror in your face and be honest with yourself so that when it starts to happen again, you can identify it and then next time respond versus reacting, which is what a lot of people do. When you respond to something, there's a productive result. When you react, it all breaks loose. Okay, it hits the fan and it goes everywhere. We've all been there, we've all done that. So that's the F word. Hopefully it's been a blessing to you, that you took away something, okay? And if it has been a blessing to you, please share it with someone else. I'm sure there's a family member, a friend, a sister, brother, a colleague, a coworker who could really use this message on forgiveness. I'll see you guys on the next clip.